let's just talk about the story of the game. I have a little banner for the story of the game. So, um, Brock Purdy comes out. Brock Purdy and the 49ers come out. And to me, they're stagnant. Brock Purdy he throws to George Kittle. He's like 10 feet in front of him. He throws to Debo Samuel, and people got really mad and said Debo dropped it. But it was Debo had to reach behind him. So that was a drop. So I felt like Brock Purdy in the first half was a little bit scattered. Also, a huge asset for him has been his legs and his ability to escape pressure if the pocket's breaking down or scramble for a first down when guys aren't getting open. And I felt like he wasn't utilizing his legs as much. So I was kind of like, okay, Brock Purdy's struggling. Jordan Mason was doing okay, but he wasn't getting big chunk yardage. He was just getting 3, 4, sometimes 5 yards per carry, kind of straight through the middle. But specifically in that first quarter, Dallas was really shutting down the run. And that was surprising to me because Dallas has struggled in every game against the run. I anticipated, if you saw my show before Sunday on Friday, I said I thought it was going to be a run heavy game because the Lions ran all over Dallas, the Saints ran all over Dallas. So I really thought the run game was going to be a big deal. And seemingly Mike Zimmerman, the former coach of the Vikings, is now the defensive coach for Dallas. And I feel like he probably knew the 49ers, who already love to run the ball. They see we're struggling. Their whole game plan is going to be run the ball. Debo Samuel, first play for the 49ers, had a carry. Debo as a running back, I want to say I feel like we should see less of it. It's not working anymore, but getting him down the field is working. So, anyways, like I said, Dallas was doing well at stopping the run, but then at the same time, the 49ers offense was kind of struggling, but I felt like the defense was coming out really strong and powerful. They turned Dak over twice, which was good on them. Dak Prescott, the announcer said he turned the ball over 9 times total last year. He's turned it over 7 times, now 8 times because he ended up having 2 turnovers this year. So in 7 weeks, he's already hit his average of what he did last year. So Dak has definitely regressed, but the 49ers defense was doing incredible. Then, okay, so let me see the story of the game. Dak throwing picks, Purdy being off and on, then you're kind of hesitant, right? Because the 49ers, they score a field goal and you're like, fuck, they're not doing touchdowns again. Because that was their problem. That was their problem all so far this year has been not scoring touchdowns. So they score 3 points. Couple possessions for both teams go by, neither scores. Then Dallas scores a touchdown. And you're like, shit, I can't believe Dallas is winning right now. Like the Lions just scored 40 on Dallas. There's no way that this is happening. The 49ers go down again. They end up getting 3 off an interception. You're kind of like, okay, fuck, like they should have taken advantage of that and really got a touchdown out of it. And they didn't. Then they go into halftime, and I'm kind of thinking, oh my God, maybe this team is worse than I thought. I kind of assumed that they had a slow start to the season, but we've seen the 49ers start 3-5 before, make it to the NFC Championship, make it to the Super Bowl. I kind of thought they'd pull it together, especially Chris McCaffrey's coming back. But Dallas has been so bad this year. I was like, they're going to sweep Dallas, go into the bye week, beat Tampa. It's going to start to be a season again. We go into halftime and I'm kind of like, oh, if they beat Dallas, I actually tweeted out something. I was like, or if they lose to Dallas, I tweeted out, if they lose to Dallas, it needs to be a fire sale. You need to trade at the deadline. You need to get rid of, if you can get anything from Debo, if you can get anything for Charvarius Ward, you need to start getting rid of people. Brock Purdy, with how he was playing, I'm like, you got to offer him maybe 45 million. You can't pay this guy 65 million. He can barely throw a pass to the right spot. He also just wasn't seeing the field. Like he threw short to Kittle one time when Debo was wide open for a touchdown, and he missed it. So I'm like, really going into that halftime, being pretty negative about Brock Purdy and it's about the play calling in general. There was a couple third downs that are obvious passing downs that Kyle called up runs for. Now it is debated that potentially Brock Purdy called which is inaudible, and he did that and transitioned to a running play because maybe he thought there was a good look for it. But I'm going into halftime kind of worried. They come out of halftime. I don't know what sort of like crack Kyle Shanahan put in everyone in everyone, what kind of pep talk he gave to everyone, but they come out of halftime and in the third quarter score 21 unanswered points. So 49ers just go on a freaking line drive. Like they are crushing it. Brock Purdy playing it's his best quarter. I think as a team actually, I think it's their best quarter of football that they've played so far this year because even in the games that they've won, they've still struggled in the red zone. In the third quarter, all those issues went away. And do you know what the key was? There's a couple keys. One, Jordan Mason went down, and I'm really nervous. Everyone who's been subscribed to my channel knows Jordan Mason has been struggling with an AC shoulder injury. He got hit. I think he landed on that shoulder or maybe got hit on that shoulder, and then he ended up leaving the game. So I don't know if it like re-aggravated it, re-injured it. Maybe he had some shots in it, some numbing shots, and the hit made it so it wasn't numb anymore, and he just was really feeling that pain. But he went out. Oh, that's another one. Weirdly enough, Devondre Campbell, who's been awful all season, had like an excellent first half on defense. The linebacker across from Warner, who's old, and everyone, including myself, has been saying you need to sit Devondre Campbell. It was like his best game. But anyways, coming out in the third quarter, Isaac Rendo, a rookie. I said this. I was like, the only way for the 49ers to win and to make something out of this season is they need to just invest in these rookies and young guys. I know D Winters, one of the linebackers who's showed a lot of promise, he went out with a concussion. So my prayers go out to him. But Malik Mustafa, just what a find that guy is. He is like a little baby Dre Greenlaw. He hits with such physicality. He's always where the ball is. I for parts of this game thought he was playing better than Fred Warner, and Fred Warner is obviously, an incredible player, maybe the best player on the defense aside from De'Amari Lenore, who's also great. But Malik Mustafa, young rookie, incredible. Isaac Guerrero, what a step up he was. I think even when Jordan Mason is healthy, obviously when Christian McCaffrey comes back, he's going to be RB1. But I think that they're going to ride the hot hand and keep Guerrero being that running back one for a little bit. Now, they both have their specialties. Isaac Rendo was getting like 15, 20 yards, especially when he got out in space. He can run really fast. He played wide receiver in college before transitioning to running back. So he has that catching ability, which I've said before, a huge change from last year to this year with Brock Purdy is without Christian McCaffrey on the field, Brock Purdy stopped throwing dump off passes to his running backs, which I don't necessarily think is Jordan Mason's problem. Jordan Mason actually talked about this in the offseason and said he bought a jugs machine and he was practicing catching so that he could be that dump off guy who's like, around the line of scrimmage, maybe 5 yards above the line of scrimmage. But Brock Purdy, for whatever reason, wasn't dumping the ball off to him. Maybe they just watched the tape and decided to change. But I find it interesting. In the first half, Brock Purdy, even when guys weren't getting open and he wasn't using his feet, he was taking sacks. It was one of the things that was making the offense stagnant. They come out in the second half. Brock Purdy, anytime, because there was a couple plays where George Kittle and Deebo Samuel weren't on the field, and it was like Chris Conley, Ricky Pearsall, who had a phenomenal game, and just like Ronnie Bell on the field for wide receivers, so they weren't getting open. And a couple times he threw dump off passes when he wasn't utilizing his legs to get out of pressure. He would throw 5 yards for Isaac Guerrero, and it would be positive yardage. And I felt like that was such a key, not making plays where maybe they can't be huge plays, but they don't need to be negative plays. They don't need to be sacks. They don't need to be sacks for a loss. You don't need to try to scramble and then have to waste time and run out of bounds. Instead, you can throw to the dump off guy when your guys aren't getting open. He'll either, if he gets sacked right there, at least you have 5 yards, and more than there was 2 big plays right back to back where he ended up running for 15 and then the next run 20 yards on those dump off passes. So Isaac Rendo did phenomenal that way. He also did okay running straight through the defense. Now, like I said, other teams have had great success running against Dallas. So I don't know as like a pure down after down running back how Isaac Rendo is going to do. If Jordan Mason is healthy after the bye week before Christian McCaffrey comes back, maybe Kyle implements some sort of like back and forth with utilization of them instead of just like running one guy maybe straight through the tackles because I feel like Jordan Mason is excellent as like a downfield physical runner, but he's not the runner that's going to give you like splash plays. He's just going to give you those like tough yards. And he's also had trouble, and I'm a huge Jordan Mason truther, but he has fumbled a couple times. So for right now, I think you have to honor the fact that Isaac Rendo had a great game, and at least if you're not giving the job to him, you have to at least keep incorporating him because that was critical in them scoring those 21 unanswered points in the third quarter, which I said amazing. I mean, this is how it went down. Um, After the halftime, they offense comes out. They wanted to do what they call what do they call it? Back to back, where Kyle Shanahan, ideally, he likes to not have the ball first because he wants to get the ball right before halftime, score a touchdown, and then be able to loop you, go to halftime, come back, have the ball again, and then loop you and get 2 touchdowns. Now, going into half, there was a penalty that wasn't called on Deebo Samuel, which I thought was kind of messed up because it would have given the 49ers 15 yards. So they don't score a touchdown before half, but they come right out of halftime, score a TD, awesome. Dallas gets the ball back. Dak Prescott throws an interception. Deommodore Lenoir makes an excellent play. 49ers get the ball back. And what we've seen in the past this season is even with interceptions, 49ers aren't doing anything with the ball. They're maybe getting 3 points on a field goal. No, Deommodore Lenoir gets that interception. Offense goes down, gets a touchdown. It was great. And on that drive where they ended up getting that second touchdown coming out of halftime, Brock Purdy, that's when I saw it like clicking for Brock because he scrambled. He had an excellent scramble. And he ended up having more throughout the game, but this was the first one of the game. He had an excellent scramble for a first down. And Brock Purdy is an athlete. He's a weapon with his legs. They call him a mini Bosa because he has really strong physical legs. I thought he really, like I said, it was kind of crazy because the first half, and my dad, if he's in the chat, he disagreed with me. He thought it was more, the first half struggles were more representative of all the penalties that were on offense, which are on offense and defense, which we will get to. Penalties were a huge problem in this game. And maybe I was being too hard on Brock Purdy because he really came out just incredible in that third quarter. Now, what's insane is so then they're winning. They have a 90, according to next gen stats, Pro Football Focus, all those websites that give you like probability of win. The 49ers had a 94.4, sorry, chance of winning in the fourth quarter. Like it was like almost 100% chance that they were going to win with how far they were up. I don't know what the hell they do, but then second and freaking 3, which is always a problem for Kyle Shanahan, but they're killing it on the ground game. There's no reason for them to be passing in the fourth quarter when you're up by 17 points. And Isaac Rendo's doing phenomenal. He's averaging 6 yards a carry. Doing great. For some reason, Kyle decides to throw it. The pass protection is horrible. Brock takes a sack, a sack for loss too, which was even worse. And then they give the ball back to Dallas. Dallas scores a freaking touchdown with CeeDee Lamb, who literally isn't covered. I don't know what the hell happened with this defense. Like I said, in the first half, I felt like the defense was actually playing well. No, they leave CeeDee Lamb, the number 1 wide receiver for Dallas, completely open in the fourth quarter. And all of a sudden, you're like, oh shit, are they going to do it again? And then you're thinking, okay, they're still up by, at this point, more than 10, I think 12 points, 17. I obviously, they're up by 11 points at that point. You're like, okay, there's no way they're going to come back. No, they end up scoring another freaking touchdown because 49ers get called for holding. And then they scored two. They scored because they almost scored, but Charbear scored holds. So it gets PI. Then they run the play again. They score on the same play. So then they end up scoring another touchdown. And you're like, holy shit, they're going to blow it. At this point, the Dallas Cowboys, I mean, it was pretty frustrating for them to be down 17 points and then all of a sudden it's 24-30 and you're like, "Oh my god, they need one more touchdown." And luckily, I mean, what saves them cuz Kyle Shanahan in that last closing offensive possession to me lost his goddamn mind. He stops running the ball even though it's effective. Brock Purdy has no protection. They're not even running play action. They're just running straight drop back passing, which in my opinion, and if you watch like JT O'Sullivan, he's the QB school, former 49er quarterback, former quarterback in general. He does a lot of breakdowns on the scheme. Everyone says that the weakest part of Kyle Shanahan's offense is the drop back passing game. It's just not very creative. What Kyle's excellent at is play action. You have that dominant run game. You fake them out. Instead, they go drop back passing game. Offense does freaking nothing. And luckily, the luckily Mike McCarthy and Dak Prescott are worse than Kyle Shanahan because the 49ers end up holding on to their lead. But I mean, if they were leading by 10, Dallas wins. If Dallas is a better team, Dallas wins. And so, although obviously I'm ecstatic that the 49ers won. First of all, because screw Dallas. As George Kittle said, F Dallas. And also, it's an NFC championship game. The NFL is hard. A win is a win. You're grateful to win. 49ers are now right behind the Cardinals, leading the NFC West division. I think going forward, I'm fairly optimistic. They're going to have the bye week. They're going to come out. It's said that Christian McCaffrey is going to be healthy at some point after the bye week. I'm not expecting. I know Ian Rappaport said November 10th could be a timeline. You have to remember Christian McCaffrey is on IR, and how IR works is when you want your team, when you want to start practicing, the team can elevate you, and you have 3 weeks. You have up to 3 weeks. You can do it before then. You have up to 3 weeks of practice before they decide if they want to keep you. They want to keep you on IR or elevate you. And it's said that during the bye week, there's going to be some bonus voluntary activities. And that might be when the 49ers elevate Chris McCaffrey. My thing is the Tampa Bay game is the game that's coming after the bye week. And that's a cross country game because it's at Tampa Bay. If you have bilateral Achilles tendonitis, even if it's healing up, flying in a plane causes a lot of inflammation. It's not great on your body, especially your legs. Like think of I know a ton of people, they wear compression sleeves all the way up to their knees and stuff. And athletes definitely do this. And you have to think Christian McCaffrey's Achilles, they're already swollen. So I don't think that he's going to come back for Tampa. I know Ian Rappaport said it's a possibility. I'm looking at that Seahawks game that's after Tampa Bay because then the next couple games are all on grass and a lot of them are at home. Obviously, later on, late November, they have Packers, and then early December, they have the Bills, which will be out. But the majority of their games for the rest of the season are at home or on grass. And a lot of these players say that when you're playing on turf, it's really hard. That concrete under the turf field can be really hard on your knees and your body. I imagine if you're injured, you just want to, if you're the 49ers, Christian McCaffrey's deal is guaranteed. So you want to make sure when you're bringing him back that there's no risk of him popping his Achilles. And I don't think you can make like 100% certain that that's it. But if I'm just saying, if I'm the GM, if I'm the coach, I want Christian McCaffrey to be there for the playoffs. So I'm honestly thinking even more down the line, like not even Seahawks. I'm thinking a couple games over. But I think I'm going to make a prediction right now. Earliest that I assume Christian McCaffrey will be back is that Seahawks game. I could also see them waiting until after the Packers and Bills game and him coming back against the Bears because that's a home game. Bears is at home, then they have Rams at home. They have the Dolphins, which is at in Miami, but that's on a grass field. Then they have Lions at home, Cardinals grass field. So I personally would wait for the Bears game, but if they do bring him back, I'm thinking week 11 versus Seahawks. Now, what's awesome about the 49ers beating the Cowboys right now is that's an in division game. They're going to go into the bye week. Also, Dre Greenlaw is another one who's said to be coming back. Now, they did say they think he'll come back a little bit later than Christian McCaffrey if they're anticipating that Christian McCaffrey might come back around that Buccaneers game, November 10th, or a little bit, close to that. They said Dre Greenlaw is a couple weeks out from him, but still, he's anticipating coming back, which is going to be wonderful. Obviously, we have to have updates on Jordan Mason. He had that shoulder injury re-aggravated, but I'm really hoping that these guys are starting to get healthy in this bye week. Fred Warner talked about that in his post-game press conference, just how beat up they really are. If you guys don't remember, Fred Warner actually sprained his ankle 2 games ago, and he was asked about it today and said it still is flared up. He still is taping it and doing rehab on it every single week. So this offseason, he's really going to like ice, elevate, rest that game. He also said, which I thought was interesting because no one prompted him to say this, but Fred Warner himself brought up George Kittle and was like, George Kittle is one of those guys who's always fighting through injury. Like he really inspires me because everyone, if you're playing football at this time of the year, midway through the season, you're gonna be beat up. It's just about if you can play through it. And he himself called out George Kittle, said how inspired he was by George Kittle for playing through injury. So I wonder what Kittle was struggling with. I know he had rib injuries. I think 2 weeks ago was when it was announced, and he was asked about it like twice, and he kind of laughed it off because George Kittle is such a personality that he didn't take the question seriously, and he was like, "Oh, where'd you hear about that?" And then changed the subject and talked about his wife and stuff. Which George Kittle is wonderful, but I really think this bye week could come at just I mean, it's a great time to come. It's not too early in the season, not too late. You can get your guys back. You're going in 4-4. You're, like I said, leading your division right behind the Cardinals. Seahawks lost today. Um, I'm interested. How did the Rams do? I don't know if I saw that. Did the Rams play or were they on a bye week? Let me know in the comments. I haven't looked at the comments since my statement. Usually I'm very good at interacting with the comments. But I didn't, like I said, I was nervous with my statement that I said earlier today. Anyways, let me see. People are saying fire Kyle. Fire Kyle. Are you a Kyle hater? People are really talking about Kyle Shanahan. I mean, yeah, he's like I said, I think the penalties they have to fall on Kyle's head. Now, I will say I felt like there was a little bit more creativity in that third quarter, but you're not going to beat a good team performing at your best for one quarter. You know what I mean? Like you have to perform at the highest level for all 4 quarters if you're going against Minnesota. Rams beat Minnesota on Thursday. Oh, duh, I'm stupid. I knew that actually. Oh, I did know that. Okay, so I wonder, are they tied up, the 49ers and Rams then?